Morning, folks. Today I am pretty excited. We have Charles from Noble Gold on. Welcome to the smartest, the most active, one of the largest audiences, and in my opinion, the coolest audience because I've met so many of you. Thank you for coming. It is the 12th. We're going to post this the 12th of April. This is one of the most important stories you could have because it affects, well, Charles, I would say the dollar's going away. I would think it affects even your ability to buy food.
It does. It absolutely does.
So in October,
When
go ahead. I'm sorry.
you lose the hegemony that we've had as a nation with our currency, big changes come. You know, the ability to buy and sell things changes because people don't want our currency anymore. And that's a huge problem. It really is bigger than most people think.
Well, this has all been planned. This opening of this bank that we talk about. Strange moves in gold. Moscow and Beijing joined forces to bypass the U.S. dollar. That this whole thing was planned in October of 1959. So the U.S. has been working with the Chinese and the Russians to displace the U.S. dollar as the primary source since October 1959.
And it makes a lot of sense when you look at that and realize some of the all economic strategies that the United States has taken recently. The accumulation of debt, the inability to defend the dollar in the world arena. Doesn't seem like an accident now, does it? And it makes a lot of sense for it to be something that's been designed to happen.
Yeah, this
Otherwise, why would we sit back and let it happen?
Well, this has been in 2007. They're chauffeuring me around St. Petersburg. And they showed me a 200-acre joint Russian-Chinese intertrade complex that they had just begun to build the foundation of the buildings. It's all done now. It opened this week. This bypass of the dollar, this elimination of the Bank of International Settlements, the one for a war so that we can reset the dollar, you know, some silly little war 8,000 miles away. So we can have this dollar reset while everybody's focused on deaths from one country. We're resetting the whole dollar system.
Very true.
So Charles,
And it all coincides with that IMF meeting at the end of the month.
so at the end of the month, do you know what date it is? Because they have IMF meetings all the time.
Yeah, so the 24th through the 27th.
So my guess is that President Xi Jinping and President Trump had President Putin on the phone, and over the last weekend when they met, and they were discussing how to have an economic reset without total panic around the world.
Correct.
So this is what I'm sensing they were discussing in Mar-a-Lago. And the public, we're totally clueless. We just think the U.S. dollar is always going to be here. Just stack the dollars in the safe, right?
You know, just like every nation that had that reserve currency status at one point, they thought it was never going to end. But it does. Every empire, falls. It happens.
Well, we talked about Hans Kovelenbach, the head of the Jesuits, in an interview 15 April 2000, and he talked about the monetary exchange and the death of the dollar and the entire world economic system moving to Singapore. And he talked about that 17 years ago, openly, in a 150-page interview we've shown on TV, radio. So this is coming. And you have an incredible, on your channel, Noble Gold, you have an incredible history of gold. I mean, I haven't seen... And of course, with the history of gold comes the history of silver because it's almost the same melting temperature. And basically, in 1971, when they pulled the gold standard, that was designed to bring about what we're seeing today.
You can't run off the deficit we've had by accident.
No, you don't.
It's almost impossible to be this broke. You have to be trying. I mean, if you put the debt of the United States into, let's just call it a personal level, we're so indebted that it would be impossible for someone to do that without doing it on purpose.
But it's not just us. It's every nation and every civilized nation in the world. And it's amazing
And
that
that's why every nation had their currency pegged in some form or another to the dollar.
isn't it amazing that
And experiment ends.
isn't it amazing that both Rockefeller and Rothschild died right as the dollar is being right on the verge of the dollar changing?
Incredible.
The old bankers suddenly who are controlling the system sort of quote die unquote disappear off to the ozone, and then we can have the economic change. It doesn't just all happen by coincidence.
No, it doesn't. There's too many things align too perfectly.
I mean, this is, every time we talk about this, we get suppressed, and every time our numbers get taken down, so we might hit 500,000 people. They take us down to 5,000. Then I post the heck out of it on Facebook because I know it's a story that everybody needs to know. So if you see this video growing very slowly, be assured that I'm posting the heck out of it on Facebook so people can wake up. What we're doing to protect ourselves is we're buying little bits of silver here and little bits of silver there. So here's the price of gold. Obviously, most people, Charles, can't afford $15,000 or $20,000 in gold coins. But one of your specialties, from what I'm seeing in Noble Gold, is we have a lot of friends with between 30 and 150,000 in their IRA. If you had an IRA and the dollar was going away, you talked about the 15%. What happens when the U.S. goes below 15% with the IMF?
We then lose the world reserve status. We're no longer the world reserve currency. So two things happen there. One, no one needs to buy our additional debt. So the government's not going to be able to print debt. No one's going to buy it. They don't need it. Two, the debt they have now becomes unimportant. So all those bonds they purchase from us, they can hit the market with that because there's another way to accomplish trade. Especially when you consider China has one of the largest GDPs. It surpassed the United States GDP.
Okay.
Manufacturing happens in China. So if the world now, very few things are made in your own country anymore. You're importing everything.
Right.
So if you're going to be importing from China, why not use the currency they use?
Well, exactly.
It would make more sense.
Well, exactly. So if I had, say I had 20,000 in cash and an IRA, we're not talking about a lot, but most of my viewers have large IRAs. We're talking $500,000 in IRAs. But let's take a guy with $20,000 or $30,000. He'd be better off, because we're looking at the history of gold, right? I mean, gold has been around since 3600 BC, and it's always held its value. Same with silver. And I didn't realize it, but we were listening to another economist that we know, Jim Willey, and he was talking about the amount of silver in a cruise missile. Oh my God, I had no idea there were so many pounds of silver. And so this gold and silver, not only has it been around for 5,600 years, 5,700 years, it's also, silver is used as an industrial metal.
Absolutely.
So we've got, and gold is actually used in an industrial way, but it has to do with something that is above my heads anyway. I don't understand how it's used, but it's used in our space program for the positive and silver's the negative. I don't understand that, but I do know that gold is used by the military. Oops, somebody got a ticket. Hey, half the cops in the town published me because I started a rumor that you got to be nice to your local cop because his mother may live behind you. And that's true. You got to be nice to him. So we've got a really good relationship with them. So we're looking at silver at 18 and all that. If I had 20,000 or 30,000, I'd probably, if it was in an IRA, I'd be best to convert it to something solid like silver or gold, wouldn't I?
You would. And when you look at that too, I mean, we know what's happening with the dollar in the event of years to come. There's a reason to do it there. But even if that weren't the case, right now, your IRA is invested in the stock market.
Right.
It's near all-time highs. Everything that's going to change soon anyway. So it's better, even if the worst wasn't happening right now, it would be beneficial to hedge your bets and diversify that portfolio. Get tangible, physical metals in that IRA for yourself as well. So when the stock market does correct, your metals are there to offset that loss.
Let's say it never corrects.
But with these times, it makes even more sense now.
Let's say it never corrects. Let's say it just keeps going up 30% a year because it's 60% artificial intelligence. Let's say they're not doing what they're doing. Let's say they didn't slow the monetary supply down this week, which is as soon as this bank thing hit, they stopped printing dollars. It's amazing. All kinds of shorting of bonds are going on right now. So even if this wasn't occurring, let's say the stock market just kept going up 100 points a day. If the dollar crashes, what value is your IRA if it's in a dollar?
It has none.
It has none. So and I still can't figure out, the other thing is, Jim talked about guys buying large amounts of gold, and the real price of gold is not $1,300, but it's closer to $2,200 overseas. That means that silver is over 30. Is this eventually going to hit our market? I mean, do you see the floor scraps, what we're buying, the $1,000 here, $2,000 here, do you see them skyrocketing soon? I mean, I can't see any other option.
Absolutely. You know, it's one of the things here, the American style of trading is a little different from the rest of the world. We have so many of these investment firms, and they're owned by banks now, funny enough. They take these positions, and they're not necessarily a conservative approach. There's not a safety approach. It's a high trading approach where they take and put huge short positions on something until they're manipulated to the point where they're ready to release it. So you see some of that happening. But that only goes for so long. The world will dictate that metals have to move up. And they'll have to move up here as well. And then as you take that scenario and you look at it with what's going on with the dollar, there will be a point in time, and no one knows when it is. We have ideas, but you can't say it directly. This day, this time, the metals market will be released from these short sales and these artificial trades, and it will move to be where it's supposed to be. You will see a pretty aggressive move. And I would imagine sometime within the course of next year, we should be seeing gold move to where it should be, and silver as well.
Well, it may move, according to the debt clock, gold should be close to $7,000 or $8,000 an ounce, and silver should be 1/10. They're harvesting 1/10 as much gold as silver. So silver should logically be 1/10 the price of gold, except silver is an industrial metal. So if gold hits 7,000, I don't see why silver is not going to hit 1,500 to 2,000. Because there's so much demand in every place on this planet for silver.
Everything we do now, everything we buy, in one way or another touches some kind of electrical connection. That's silver. Every item that has electricity that runs through it, whether through a battery or plugged into a wall, has silver components in it.
I remember when I was going to school, a professor, Ron Wakamoto, got back from NASA, and the cable that ran to the Apollo program was $1 million a foot, and it ran for several hundred feet. So that cable that launches the Apollo rockets at $1 million a foot, you run that for 200 feet, that's a lot of gold and silver. Mostly silver. And that means when that rocket takes off, that cable flies all around, all that silver gets dissolved, you need more silver. So, unbelievable. So what we're looking at is huge changes in the near future. What do you think is going to be the kickoff, or is that really kind of a nobody knows?
You know, that one really is which came first, chicken or the egg type of a scenario. There's so many scenarios at play right now. It's hard to say which is the one that starts it off. But looking forward, what happens at the end of the month is very important with that IMF meeting, okay? With the bank in China. These are really large telling events. But there's so many things that you know, we're talking about wars again. These are all strategies that are used to confuse people, distract them from what's going on. So that's why you'll see more of that.
Well, when we went from the London pound to the U.S. dollar, July 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement, it took a war to make that happen.
Yes,
And that was World War II, folks. Now we're looking at a change, and we need something to distract us as we change. The yuan has to move to Astana, Kazakhstan. We have to have a new exchange with the Singapore Chinese dollar. I don't know what it's going to take. So your crystal ball is as unclear as mine when it comes to what's going to kick this off.
It's so hard to say, but there's so many events that could set it off. But the fact that we see a lot of them happening at the same time, really, my thing is, if you know what's going to happen, why wait for the one specific event? Just get prepared and then be ready.
Well, that's exactly right.
That's always been.
You're going to need a couple months cash. You're going to need food for 6 months. And you're going to need to convert your major assets out of paper because this is a Federal Reserve note. It's not really a U.S. dollar. It's a debt note to a corporation that's owned and located in London. And we've been using that debt note. We went from the British pound to the London Federal Reserve note. So London to London. So now it's moving to Singapore. Boy. Charles, this is going to be huge. Can we talk to you right after the IMF meeting?
Yes.
Good. Because I think some of your insights are going to be critical because something's going to happen. And I get the feeling it starts on Friday, and I'm not sure what. But, boy, I want as many of these viewers and listeners to know that it's time, maybe it's time to take that leap. Now, your stuff, when I convert, say, a $150,000 IRA from stock to gold, it's all backed by physical gold, isn't it?
Correct. Alice Brown's gold is all in your IRA's name.
Yeah.
And it's owned solely by your IRA. No one else owns it.
And so what you're saying is, like so many gold contracts that are backed $100 for every, I mean, there's 100 gold contracts for every one real piece of gold. Yours is 100 to 100. I mean, it's all owned, backed by solid gold.
Correct. Absolutely. That's the only way to do it.
Well, this is incredible. And you've got a live chat right there. So
Yes.
I can't tell you, when I saw that story last week, it hit last Monday, it hit me. Oh my God, here it is. China, Russia, and 6.5 billion people are now bypassing the Federal Reserve System. That's huge.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, too, it makes you think, and all that's happening in the Middle East right now, and all that's happening in the wars, why is it that China is not doing anything? We have a fleet up in North Korea. In the past, China's been the defender of North Korea.
Right.
Okay? Now they're not. They're amazingly quiet. Why is that? My feeling is, by keeping quiet and letting the United States and Russia do all the bickering and the posturing, it makes China the perfect choice for the next currency.
Exactly. But this has been planned since October of 1959. This isn't something that happened because one president ran up the debt or another president ran up the debt. This is something that has been planned, 59, that would be 57 years ago.
And this is why during the Korean War, they were never allowed to go move forward and try to get into China.
So that this could happen. Follow the money. It's all about the money.
Always. It's always about the money.
And money is defined as gold and silver. Money is not defined as paper currency. It's all about who has the gold and who has the silver and who has the platinum.
That is correct.
Unbelievable. It's almost, Charles, like my eyes are being awoken. Now, I love the Philharmonics. I love the Canadian. We talk about how to take an American Silver Eagle and brush your teeth on the top of it and then swallow the toothpaste. You have enough colloidal silver in one silver coin for a lifetime.
Yes, you do.
So we have one silver coin, and it was beat up when I bought it because I asked for those beat up coins. And when I feel sick, I brush my teeth. I put the toothpaste on the silver dollar, and then it turns black, and I swallow it. I got tons of colloidal silver. But I don't think there's a better... Boy, I don't know what to say. It's dawning on me that money is gold and silver. And when poop hits the fan, gold and silver's the safe place.
It is the truth, and that as Thomas Jefferson said, gold and silver should be the only money the United States ever has.
Anyway, Charles, any parting words? We can get a hold of you at 888-596-7916. Or
That's
get,
the number. Call one of my team will answer the phone. Ask any questions you may have. Just find out if it's right for you. I think with everything that's going on, it makes more sense now than ever. But if you're not sure, call. Ask the questions. We want you to feel comfortable with it. And we want to show you how easy it actually is to get yourself protected with precious metals.
oh, what are your hours, by the way?
Our hours are Pacific Standard Time from 7 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
Okay, so don't call at 8 o'clock at night. Call during business hours for California.
Exactly. And if it is in the middle of the night, go onto our website. You can request information there. We'll get it emailed out to you right away.
Right there, yeah, you can, right there on live chat. Request information,
Absolutely.
home delivery. Okay, we're going to end the interview now. And then I'm going to hand the phone to Jane, if that's okay.
Perfect.
So, Charles, I can't thank you enough. I want to have you right on after that IMF meeting. Okay, thank you for watching.
Pleasure.
And we're going to end the interview. Thank you. And